Hey, and welcome to Christ-Centered Chiropractic. I'm here with Dr. Beth. So excited to have you on. A little bit about yourself, maybe share with the crowd here, because you're pretty new in practice and a new mom, and you've got a young family. Tell us a little about what's happening in your life right now.
Yeah, so my husband and I welcomed our first kiddo. She will be 9 months old next week, and so we are so excited for that. It's been such a amazing new part of life that we thought we were prepared for, and then everything changed, and God said, "Guess what? This is all new again." So we are at that stage, and so running a practice and keeping that upbeat, and also not stale, and growing and developing, and running my team. It's been great, but it hasn't been a walk in the park. But we're enjoying every part of it. That's for certain.
So you also have this unassailably powerful, never-ending will. There was actually a quote I came up with it's been my favorite for years that I wanted to share with the audience here that I dedicate to you right now because I think this really fits you. It's by Benjamin Disraeli, who was a very famous English statesman back in the day. He said, "Nothing can resist a human will that will stake its existence on a purpose." And you seem to be this very persistent, persevering woman chiropractor on a purpose, with a great mission in your life. And so you've managed to continuously metamorphosize and transform and not get stuck in any sort of old dogmas or traditions only. You keep going and reinventing yourself to make sure that this works. Because a lot of people would say, well, your situation's impossible. There's no way for you to be successful. There's too much going on there. But yet you keep going. So what's that driving force, for those that are out there that feel frustrated, stuck, like they've got insurmountable mountains to climb? What would you tell them?
Man, that is a good question, because even though I might look like that, it's like every morning I'm still, like psyching myself up. And I heard that term Sunday scaries, like for the first time, like a year ago. And I'm like, what is that? Oh my gosh, I think I have those. I don't know, but we're just going to jump over them anyway. And my goodness, what a compliment though. Thank you so much. Because I just have to keep going. So, two things. I have a patient who everything that probably could go wrong does go wrong for this kid. He's younger than me, so he's kid still. He just keeps showing up and showing up, and I have these conversations with him. I'm like, you know what? Like I'm just so glad you're here. And he's not the guy that pays on time. He refers. But he shows up regardless of the flat tire, regardless of all of this stuff. And all he says before he gets on the table, he says, "Dr. Beth, could be worse." And every time he says that, my jaw drops, and I'm like, "You're right. Could be worse. Could be worse. Couldn't have woke up this morning." And so that's literally what I think about for the last several years. Is he like hits way harder on him. Could be worse. Just get up, just walk in, just go do it. And so that's the thing. And I think I've just gotten good at like blinders over the years, because I didn't come from a super simple, easy upbringing. It was very much a dogfight for the most part. And so here we are. And I'm kind of unlike a lot of the other people that I grew up with. And I've always kind of been an entrepreneur since I was young. I was the kid that had like 4 jobs, and I was creating all of these opportunities I was a swim person, and I was teaching people private swim lessons and creating all of these opportunities because, number one, I had enjoyment doing it. I loved being in the water, living on the lake. And I just kept doing it. And I don't know why. It just seemed natural to always be in motion. And so that was I think those are the biggest things. My dad's been a big driver too. He's a man of few words, but I remember calling him when I was in school and saying, "Dad, how do I know like this is gonna work?" And all he said was, "Babe, you don't. You just gotta keep going." That's all he said. Right. "Babe, you don't. Just keep going."
And you're like that. You just keep going, and not just repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, being crazy, but you are looking to make adjustments, metaphorically speaking, or transform, metamorphosize. Like there's this constant evolution forward. And so I want to get into the first of your many strengths, obviously the one being you keep going and you keep fighting the good dog fight of faith, I'll call it now after what you said. But also there's this, like, you're able to build value. So we have this new methodology that we talk about in Christ-Centered Chiropractic, which is 150 is the new $1 million practice. And it's not really about money or volume. It's just about the fact that you can have a high impact practice where you can thrive at every level and you can be married and have a child and not have to go to 10,000 a week to be a success. And so one of the things that's required, though, in order to do that is you do have to have a value for the work and be able to communicate that value. And you do that extremely well. What might be some insights you would give people that are watching as to, again, you go back to some of the more old school chiropractors that really came from a background of a lack of value for the care. So here we are saving lives, creating miracles, and it's, for $9.99 a visit, just giving it away. It's kind of this deep, dark history of chiropractic where there wasn't any value versus now you realize that, hey, we are making a difference in people's lives. And so there's a certain cost to that that's important to maintain, both to deliver the care in an effective, high quality way, but also to be able to have a family and not need thousands a week in order to feed that family.
Yeah, it was honestly, I had to get quiet. And when we talked a little bit about, making those changes in my practice and stuff, at first I was like, yes, I am the yes person. And which is interesting because I was a yes woman when I opened the practice. And then I kind of, said, wow, that's not working anymore. We need to make some pivots. So now I'm leaning back into that word really heavily now. So I said, well, okay, sure, let's make it. But then there was a moment where I was like, whoa, what am I literally doing here? Literally, I'm nearly doubling this. And so it was like this internal dialogue of value conversation that I had. And I had to just like put myself in their shoes, having an interaction with me across the table and say, would I be okay hearing me speak these things to me, hearing me speak the importance of this frequency or cost or just the literal components of correcting their spine in these four walls? And was I okay with it? And when my answer was yes, I was like, yes, there we go. But I also live in a different camp though. I love the research behind chiropractic. I love that stuff. I love correcting a spine. When I adjust somebody, I'm visualizing the 3D approach of each vertebrae because I love that stuff. And correcting the spines and seeing that stuff, that is what really, really, really motivates me every single time I see a new person, is because I look so far past the individual sitting in front of me and I'm saying, what is going on with this spine of theirs? And let me get my hands on it. And so when I can do that stuff and when I can think of, okay, what literally is this station in my office doing for them? Is it of value? Am I keeping it in place? Am I including it? Is it important for them? Then I feel okay with it, realizing it has significant value. Yes, they need it. They're not getting it anywhere else except for this location. So it was kind of twofold. Like, did it settle well with me? Would I be okay buying from me and staying in my own practice? And then does it literally make sense? Science.
So when you look at, because you're off, like you're saying, you're offering all this value. Like you just look at the studies and what the impact is of just the wobble chair or just the cervical traction or obviously the adjustment and the power of that. When you look at the value of any one of those things, it's enormous. And so then when you're putting plans together like that, of course, there's the concern. Again, you've got certain doctors or people that would be in any industry that would be worried that can somebody really pay for it, especially if they've thought, hey, I thought insurance would cover these things. And then how is it that you're able to confidently and consistently put something together where now we've shown them, hey, you do need all of this. There's huge value to it. And suddenly now a plan is coming out with an average of, because again, to get to 150 and do $1 million, you need to be over $100 a visit on an average. So you've said to me before, I just have no problem doing that. Like I have no problem going over a plan like that because you believe in the value of it. So what could you tell some people out there that really struggle with that? They really struggle to have plans that are going to be any more than, $30, $40 a visit.
So I think when you need the care, that's when you realize how valuable it is. And so I've cycled in and out of needing to be a patient of the care that I deliver. But each time that I become a patient of the care that I deliver, I value it so much more. And so when that happens, I don't know, I wake up sometimes and I'm like, this is what that feels like. I'd never had sciatica before. Pregnancy, hello, anything can happen. And here we were. And I had to unpack my life and figure out, what am I doing that's causing this? Because I'm getting stellar care. But what am I doing that's causing this? So when every single time I make the circle of needing to go into corrective care again, that's when I value it so much more. And it becomes easier and easier and easier to be able to commit them to it. So it's kind of like, I'm just saying the most dominant internal environment that I have. And so it's so much easier for me to speak those truths if I'm like living those truths. I still love it when patients are like, you get adjusted? And I'm like, what kind of question is that? Of course I get adjusted. I would never, ever, ever walk a week probably without my adjustment. And here's another thing too, is I was just having a training with my doctor last week. And I said, look, doctor, I don't bring anything into this office unless I've done it. I don't ask anything of my patients unless I've done it myself. And so if I'm going to tell them to eat this way or work out this way or commit to this frequency and do these exercises twice a day, every day, I better have done it myself too. And that's probably something I learned from you, Dr. Ben, like forever ago. That's just kind of how I roll. Whether it's supplements or whether it's a new practice or whether I'm telling somebody, you need to be here every single day. I'm open Monday through Friday this week, and I expect to see you every single day because of what you've got going on. Not forever, but for this week, yes. I had to have done it before. So I think that's the most important part, is every
That's
time I
powerful.
have to be a patient again.
That's powerful. Yeah, that's the takeaway on that, obviously, is we are committed to this for us and our family. I'm sure for you, the most important adjustment every week is your own baby's adjustment. So I would not recommend you make sure your babies are all here as patients on my schedule if it wasn't that important to me too. That we do the same thing at home as we're recommending to you. That's very powerful because obviously we value it. We'd certainly invest in it. I wouldn't imagine not getting my kids adjusted, so I can't imagine you not getting your kids adjusted. So that's extremely powerful. So
Yeah.
so one more thing I want to talk about, I want to brag about relative to you here. That is another thing that I really respect about you is your courage. So you had this opportunity to be a radio show host, to now become the celebrity Dr. Beth. And, obviously a lot of people would really shy away from that. There's an investment involved. You've never been on a radio, but you didn't hesitate. In fact, you immediately went for the biggest of the opportunities, which had the highest risk. So for those, again, watching, this is why I love working with people like you. Sure, there's people who are seeing 1 million a week and they'll go out and do anything, they'll run around naked in their community if it meant one more new patient, like, that there's those guys. But then there's people like you, like that are just looking to do the best thing for their family and their patients and their communities, and willing to step out there and be courageous and jump into an opportunity because of what? Like what makes you so willing to do something like that?
I think it's easier, a little bit easier, because I really enjoy talking about the goodness of health and the goodness of chiropractic and the goodness of God in between all of those things. I think it makes it a little bit easier coming from that angle. If I didn't enjoy talking about the goodness, it would be like pulling teeth. But it's kind of like that, just do it scared anyway. Like you're gonna, likely I would regret it if I said no. The chances of me regretting it because I said yes are much slimmer. So I'm like, that sounds less painful. And so here we are, and I'm really excited. My pastor last weekend, he said he made a new word and he called it anxiety.
Yeah.
2 words smashed together, and I'm on board with that. And so I feel excited in all the great ways. And my hands like start getting a little slippery and stuff. But gosh, there just isn't anybody else doing it. So I'm like, well, who else? What if they're listening to the radio? What if they need my help? And they hear my voice and something latches on, and then I get to impact them. And my goodness, what happens? And so I've wanted to just be the chiropractor that everybody in our town that everybody knows and loves. Like, I want to be that, not because I'm a people pleaser, but because people deserve to be able to latch onto something that's easy. I want it to be easy for them to get healthy and to have a solution. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of risk involved. There's a whole bunch of risk involved. And if I sit and think about it too long, that pressure could paralyze, but I'm going to use it to push. So.
Yeah, I heard that. I listen to Pastor Furtick every Monday, so I listen to the latest of his sermons, and he was talking about the fact that, we would expect, hey, here's a guy who's got churches all over the world. He's literally a rock star from the purest form of the word, given what Elevate Music has done, and yet he says he's anxious before he goes on stage every single week, but it's more anxiety. And I think you are really the epitome of Christ-Centered Chiropractic in that you're willing to be anxiety because, God's up there with you. He's called you to greater purpose, and there's people that are dying without your help. So we just really appreciate your courage. It's easier to say that I'm excited and then go out and actually do it. So I appreciate you for all that you're doing. I'm sure your family appreciates it, and I'm really excited about what the future holds for that new radio show and your clinic. I think it's going to be amazing.
Thank you so much. Me too. Us too.
We appreciate you for everything. Thanks for being an amazing role model to moms everywhere. For everybody here that's watching, bless you, and remember who you are.